Hey everybody, this is Whiskey in the Six. I'm Rob. Today I'm actually doing a comparative between the Macallan Fine Oak 15-year-old and the Glengoyne 15-year-old. I've done a comparison type review before where I compared the two and marked each. That was the Crown Royal Northern Harvest Rye versus the Crown Royal XR Blue. I've actually already reviewed both of these and I've given them very, very good marks. So I feel people are going to ask the next question, which is natural. Which do I prefer? Which would I buy? Which is a better bang for your buck? So first I want to kind of talk about their bottling and that type of thing. So they're very similar in the sense that both are aged in ex-bourbon and ex-sherry casks. The Macallan was introduced the Fine Oak series in 2004. Before that, they only had the Sherry Oak series, and they always got their barrels from Jerez, Spain. They were all sherry casks. Once they introduced the Fine Oak, all the Fine Oaks after that are a mixture of aged whiskey from Jerez sherry casks, American sherry casks, ex-sherry casks, and ex-American bourbon casks. So that's for the Macallan. The Glengoyne is just a mixture of ex-bourbon cask and ex-sherry. It doesn't go into specifics. I believe it's European sherry. Okay, so doesn't talk about it being Jerez or Oloroso or Pedro Jimenez. I have a suspicion that the 18-year-old Glengoyne might have a little bit of Pedro Jimenez sherry cask influence, just because of the sweetness of the 18-year-old. But that's something I'll try to find out for you guys on another date. Macallan used to consider themselves a Speyside. In 2009, Scotch whiskey regulations started enforcing the regions, basically, of what is considered a Speyside, what is considered a Highland. And the region of Craigellachie, or I butchered that, I apologize, Craigellachie or something like that, is no longer, well, as of 2009, was no longer considered a Speyside region. It's exclusively a Highland region. So as you can see on the bottle, it says Highland Single Malt Scotch. But if you go to the Macallan website, they still consider themselves a Speyside. They're just no longer allowed to put it on the bottle anymore. So on the website, they call themselves a Speyside. Whereas Glengoyne is just barely in the Highland region. They're almost in the lowlands. They're so far south of in Scotland. So we're comparing apples to apples here in so many different ways actually. They're both Highland. They're both a mixture of bourbon and sherry barrels. They both do not use peat to dry their barley. And they're both 15-year-olds. And is there anything else? I don't think there's anything else. If there is, I will let you know. Let's start looking at the actual whiskeys themselves. Oh, and they're both awesome whiskeys, so you can't go wrong. $90 Canadian. This one is about $100 American. So if you're a Canadian going over to the States to buy it, you're looking at about $127, and you're saving basically $37 for this one. Okay. Alright, on to the actual smells. So color-wise, alright, I don't want to mix these up. Color-wise, maybe the edge goes to the Macallan slightly. They're almost identical in color. The Macallan's slightly darker. Slightly darker. Okay. On the nose, the Macallan first. You get some apple. So this bottle has changed since I first reviewed it. We've talked about how oxidization changes the taste of the whiskey. This is almost just under halfway now, so it's more open as far as the nose goes now. It smells sweeter. You pick up the sherry, get a touch of cinnamon, get some wine notes. They're both 43% alcohol. To the Glengoyne 15. Okay, this is a stronger wine note on this. The nose is not as sweet as the Macallan. You still get the sherry in the background. Get a little bit of vanilla. Maybe a touch of banana. Okay, very similar. Touch of cinnamon as well. I've had this bottle for a shorter amount of time, so it's not completely a fair comparison, I would say, because if I was just opening these bottles right now, that was probably or had in the same amount of time, or I opened them at the exact same time, that's probably the most fair it could be. But I mean, for all intents and purposes, this is as fair as it gets, right? On the palate for the Macallan. The Macallan's sweet. You get the sherry notes right away, dark fruit, some dark chocolate. It's oaky. Get a little bit of that vanilla as well on the palate. Okay, the Glengoyne. These are very similar tasting. This has maybe a touch more sweetness to it. It's more, you get more cinnamon on the palate. A lot more cinnamon on the palate than the Macallan, and a lot more cinnamon on the palate than the nose. Okay, you get some coffee, some dark chocolate, even some milk chocolate, a touch of milk chocolate. Okay, let's try that one more time. I'm gonna go with the Glengoyne first since it's still on my palate. Okay, there's fruit there, baked fruits like baked apples, baked pears. It's very sweet, a lot of honey. And still, in the finish, you're getting more vanilla, more cinnamon. It's really good. The Glengoyne 15, as you can see on my actual review, I gave it an A. It's excellent stuff. Okay, back to the Macallan. The Macallan tastes a bit younger, I would say. They're both 15 years old. My only explanation for that could be maybe the casks that Macallan used for the Fine Oak weren't as active as the casks that Glengoyne used. Or maybe it's the mix of all three casks from the Macallan as opposed to the two types of casks from the Glengoyne. I'm not 100% sure what it is, but there is a difference. I would say the Macallan tastes a bit younger. And why I feel that way is it's a little bit more fresh fruit, it's a little bit more peppery, you get more of a sting on the tongue, whereas the Glengoyne is smoother. It's a lot more relaxed on the palate, more, I would say almost more syrupy as well. Okay, so I would say, although they're both excellent whiskeys, the edge goes to Glengoyne for two reasons. It tastes a bit older, and like I said, it's a little smoother, as well as the price. The Macallan, they're famous, they're allowed to charge obscene prices for their product, and a lot of people are paying for them. So you can't knock them for doing it. The only thing is, there's better whiskey out there, and that's ultimately why I'm here, to try to show you guys, get you guys the best bang for your buck whiskey, so you don't overspend for something that you can appreciate just as much, if not more, for a lesser price. So in this battle, I would say the battle goes to the Glengoyne 15-year-old. Alright? Thanks for watching, guys. If you like this video, subscribe. You can also share with your friends if you know anybody that likes whiskey or would be interested in this comparison. I'm on Twitter and Instagram. On Twitter, I'm at whiskey_in_the_6, and on Instagram, I'm at whiskey in the 6. Cheers, guys.